Now, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned supplements earlier, and of course, everybody loves to hear about supplements, but what are some that may not be on the usual list of suspects, so to speak? I mean, one I would love to hear you speak to is CDP choline. People might not think of xylitol as a supplement, but certainly you could argue that maybe there's a place for it. Do you want to add anything to that and just expand on those?
Sure, I can expand on those. I think that the supplements that we have the best evidence for, they start with those core nutrients that we could get from the diet, but if we don't, then we definitely should supplement. So we've mentioned omega-3s, B vitamins, especially those involved in methylation. So that's vitamin B12, folate, which is B9, riboflavin, which is B2, and then B6. Vitamin D, obviously critical. Iron supplementation, particularly if people are anemic. So that requires a whole assessment for like, why are you anemic in the first place? But often particularly more common in women, and many of the symptoms that women may experience around perimenopause are associated with inadequate iron status. So getting your iron status checked and addressed is really important. Magnesium, certainly critical as well. If we're thinking about other things that do seem to have both an acute and long-term benefit in terms of cognitive function, then all the kind of antioxidant polyphenols are very interesting, particularly those that come from berries, but related ones in coffee, tea, on the skins of roasted nuts and seeds. They have similar effects. And then, so you mentioned choline. And right at the beginning, when we were talking about omega-3s, I think choline is critical because of its importance as a head group for fats to be attached to in membranes. That's maybe one of the reasons why it's important for the brain. And various estimates suggest that we're becoming increasingly choline deficient as we stop eating things like eggs and liver, which are our richest sources of dietary choline. But there were randomized controlled trials in 2 different settings that we've talked about already. So one in older adults already experiencing some degree of cognitive decline, where supplementing with CDP choline, which is also called citicoline, seems to improve certain aspects of cognitive function. And then again, after traumatic brain injury, there are meta-analyses that show that supplementing with CDP choline can improve some neuropsychological outcomes, in particular after TBI. So I think most of us can probably get choline from the diet, but in some of these cognitively degraded states, we might call them, something like 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day of choline seems to be beneficial.
Do you take it, or do you just get it from eggs and so on?
No, I get it from eggs and liver. And some seafood, sardines have some choline in, as do some whole grains, like oats have some, quinoa has some. So all of it kind of adds up. I don't supplement with choline. I do supplement with creatine. I don't have the perfect trial that creatine is going to prevent dementia, but I think we've seen enough interesting data across depression, again, sleep deprivation.
How many grams do you take daily? What's your standard daily dose?
I take 10 grams every day.
Single dose or divided? Doesn't matter.
So I take it all in one go in the morning. There's some evidence that suggests that once you get above 5 grams, you probably start to saturate creatine uptake transporters. So maybe you don't take all of it up. But the reason why I take it all in one go is because I remember to take it all of it in one go. Another reason is that I find creatine to be quite stimulating, quite cognitively stimulating for me. So when you took your ketones, I took my creatine before I got on this call.
I took 5 grams of creatine too.
And so if I take creatine later in the day, I don't sleep as well. It's very noticeable for me, but that's not the case for everybody. Some people take creatine and they don't notice the cognitive effect. It doesn't affect their sleep. So it's very different from person to person. And so those are the reasons why I just take it all in one go in the morning. But especially if you're going to take over 10 grams, 20, 30 grams, you're probably best splitting it up into several doses so that you absorb more of it.
Yeah, or 30 grams at one go also is tempting the gods to smite you with a really bad bathroom situation. Yeah.
So yeah, and a lot of people do mention GI side effects from creatine. I think some of that is due to the quality of the supplement that you're taking.
Yep, I agree.
So if you're taking CreaPure creatine monohydrate, that's what most studies that have tested creatine have used. And There was actually a systematic review meta-analysis that just came out that found that across all the studies they could find compared to placebo, creatine didn't have any additional GI side effects. But also those studies use high quality creatine. Also, not all of those studies use 30 grams. So you could certainly get to a point where you're going to start to have GI effects based on dose.
I think it has to do with the fact that my polyfarm in the morning when I'm just getting booted up, it's like I might be having the coffee plus the creatine plus,
the MCT oil,
sardines with MCT oil. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going into the cocktail of potential disaster, which you do acclimate to. Quick question before I forget on lactate. Is there any argument to be made for anything that you would ingest or otherwise put into your body, not to avoid doing the intense exercise, but to increase the amount of lactate that you uptake into the brain? Or is that something that people have looked at, or is that just risky business and to be avoided because you'll end up in I don't know, some type of acidosis or some other problem?
People have looked at exogenous lactate itself, right? Usually as lactate salts, just like people have looked at ketone salts. You can bump up blood lactate a little bit, but similar to ketone salts, that you don't get nearly the increases you do with other compounds. You don't need to do anything to increase brain uptake of endogenous lactate because the brain will generally just take up as much as you've got, similar to ketones, right?
Yeah, I think I misspoke when I was asking the question.
Yeah.
I guess it was just increasing the amount of circulating lactate, so your brain just sucks it up like a vacuum.
I think you can make plenty of lactate yourself. So, another way to do it, blood flow restriction is another great way to produce lactate with low load. And there are some studies where, they had them do leg presses, but like sets of 20 leg presses wearing blood flow restriction cuffs.
Oh, man.
That will get you up there as well. Again, several millimolar of lactate. It's not fun.
I think I'd rather do the Norwegian 4x4. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's intense.
That's another way to do it. If you, for whatever reason, don't want to do sprints on a rowing machine, or you can probably get up there with some blood flow restriction under low load and high rep. But no, I don't think there's anything that I would take to increase lactate.
Okay, got it.
Just because you can make it so easily yourself.